Similarly, for processing speed is exactly what it says on the tin. It is how quickly you process information that your body is taking in. So what you can do is you can use a timer, right? We have devices, we have laptops and iPads and phones, and, you can put timers on the board. You can use a visual timer, you can use an egg timer, all sorts of timers which can help to structure an individual's response. So it can help to keep them on track, because if they can see a visual representation of how much time they've got left, fingers crossed, they understand that they can start to structure their response so that it is completed as much as they can by the end of the time that they have. Second one there, you can provide additional time to complete work. One of the things that we tend to do is we may hold somebody back a little bit, right? We can say, okay, stay at break time and finish that. Have some additional time in the exam. Additional time is awesome, right? It's a great comfort blanket for people that need it. If we are going to force people to stay away from the next aspect of school, which they may be looking forward to, break time is great for kids. It's where a lot of that socializing is done. You know what break time is for. It's where the kids will actually have a little bit of a release. If we are keeping them in our lesson so that they can finish off copying off the board or whatever the task was, it's a little bit of a penalty. So it's, of course, we can provide additional time, but don't overdo it. Don't use additional time to the extent that you're actually impacting somebody's break time or taking away their lunchtime regularly, right? On the flip side of that, there are individuals that you will support that want the extra time because they want to finish that task. They want to improve their work, which is awesome. So for effective accommodations for reading, right? So there are some great things that we can do. For example, there would be lessons every so often where I would ask the class to give me a problem, and then fingers crossed I'd be able to work through it on the board and they could see what my thinking was. For reading, however, there's some of the things that we can do is we can change the font, character, and line spacing of the text that we are providing for individuals. So basically what we can do is we can changing the font. This is an example of open dyslexic font. Okay, I did use a slide of this at the end of the last session. The reason I'm showing you this is because it was originally designed to be supportive of people with dyslexia. Right? The design of it, as you can see, the letters are weighted so that in theory they can't be flipped over, spun round and placed on top of another letter. So, the letter P there, it's weighted so that it's not going to spin round and turn into a D or a B or a Q. With the best intention in the world, the font was developed. It turns out, apparently, that the results for open dyslexic fonts, there is no benefit in having the weighted font. So dyslexic font, there is no benefit, right? It doesn't improve somebody's accessibility to text. It is just another font that can be used. What can help the individuals with a specific learning disorder is the spacing between the letters and the words. The reason for that, the letters and the lines. The reason for that is because it can improve somebody's visual discrimination. So in effect, it provides more white space, which then allows somebody to access the text a little bit easier. Okay, so this is something that you can do with the text that you are providing to individuals. If we are developing documents on Word or basically any of the documents that we will provide to individuals, you can adjust the spacing and the amount of white space on your devices. So there's a little 40-second video that I am going to play it. And basically, this is something that you can do. You select your text, press Windows and D, and one of these boxes will pop up.
You can also adjust character spacing. So you would select your text with your cursor, go to the Home tab, Font Group, click the dialog box launcher, and I can scale the font size, or I can go to spacing, and I can say that I want to expand that spacing. And down here is where you can see what it will look like. And there are other options for adjusting the kerning between the fonts, so just spacing above and below. We've got number spacing, so all kinds of different options here that you can explore. And if you notice, it just spread the letters out on my title.
So one of the things that I hope you noticed, it's on the middle of that image. It does show you the amount of space that's available that will pop out when you have adjusted the spacing. One of the other things is that font that they're using is a sans serif font. Basically, it doesn't have the little curly bits at the tops of the E's and the T's. So what it does, it's a less fussy, more straightforward font, which again will help with somebody's visual discrimination. Nice and straightforward. We will come back to this when we have a look at Immersive Reader in a little while, because it does something pretty similar. So what you can do, you can set practical tasks instead of using tests requiring fluent reading skills, which, fantastic if it works in your classroom, but surprisingly, there's a lot of reading that we still need somebody to do. You can use assistive technology or ICT. There's a lot of accessibility built into our devices, which is very, very useful. And it's quite a subtle way. I know I keep going on about how to do this subtly, but it is quite a subtle way of making adjustments for individuals. So basically, there's a lot of things that we can use on our devices which will assist somebody to access the text that we want them to. You can offer additional time, right? And, individuals may not take it, right? They might actually go, do you know what? Today, I don't need the additional time. It's important that it's there for them, right? For example, if they have specific learning disorder, if they have a report from somebody such as psychologists, which says that they can, they would benefit from additional time, that additional time should be there as a default. And if they need it, fantastic. If they don't need it, also fantastic. Because I think I might have mentioned last time, working in a secondary school, I know that pupils in year 8 and year 9 didn't use additional time because they didn't want to. They didn't want to spend extra time in an exam. But then by the time they hit year 10, going back into year 11, they would actually see the benefit of it. It was always there for them just in case they needed it. One of the key things down the bottom there is provide examination questions in a recorded format. So surprisingly, this works very well for maths questions. I was teaching in a school where we recorded the questions in maths exams, and then individuals that needed to could plug their headphones into their device. They could listen to the question, they could repeat it if needed, and it provided them much easier access to the maths than having to decode it from the text that was written on a page. Very useful for people with dyslexia, very useful for people with dyscalculia. It got the maths out more easily for them.